Happy Wednesday, Year 3. Welcome to today's literacy learning. And before we do our learning today, I'm going to do my very big superstar shout out. And it is for 4 people today. My first one is for Connie. Connie, well done, because you made me giggle so much with your revolting marvellous medicine ingredients. In fact, my favourite alliteration that you used was big, beefy verbs. It really did make me chuckle. Well done to Emily. I have given you a shout out for your whiteboard work. Look how many adjectives you used for your alliteration. Well done to you. My third one is to Saren. Well done, Saren. You did a beautiful character description of your alien, and I really enjoyed your adjective stunning. Nobody else used that in their work. And then down here, I have got the name Dexter, because Dexter, you have been in school and you have been proving to me that you can use some fantastic adjectives in your literacy work as well. So well done to you 4. Okay, Year 3, let's warm those big brains of yours up today. Now, for our warm-up, we are going to use yesterday's learning. And what did we do? We did time conjunctions. Time conjunctions tell us, I hope you shouted when at that video. Okay, and it's your job to correct the time conjunction spellings. I have purposely spelt my time conjunctions wrong on the board. So let's look at the first one together. Number 1, and it in fact spells out first, but there is one letter that is incorrect. I wonder which letter is incorrect. I can tell you it is in fact the E. It should be spelled F-I-R-S-T. Okay. Before you go any further, what I need you to do is to get your whiteboard and your whiteboard pen. So if you haven't got them, hit pause on the video. Okay, I hope everybody's got it now. So you will write 1 to 8 on your whiteboard and you will correct those spellings. Now, I don't know whether you've noticed, but number 8, there's a number in my word. That is not allowed in Year 3, okay? So you've got 8 spellings to correct. Off you go. Okay, I hope you got all of your spellings correct there. We will see when you email a picture of your whiteboard into the Year 3 email. So for today's learning, for Wednesday, the 10th of February, let's read our learning question together, Year 3. So big voices. Can I write a sentence using an imperative verb to start it? What's an imperative verb? This helps us here. So an imperative verb is a bossy verb. It commands you to do something. I'm sure Year 3 will be very good at using imperative verbs because you are all ever so bossy. Now we know that a verb is a doing word, okay? So in our sentences here, the ice cream is melting. What is the ice cream doing? It's melting. That is your verb. The snowman wears a hat. Is hat a verb? Hat? No, that's a person, a place, or a thing, so that's a noun. A hat isn't doing anything. So I know that my verb is wears, okay? The snowman is doing that. Okay, so don't forget, an imperative verb is a bossy verb. So in our book, George's Marvellous Medicine, we have George's grandma. Now, is she a lovely woman? Is she a fantastic grandma, like my grandma who bakes me cakes and says that I look nice? No, she's not. She's old and grouchy. She says, do this, George, and do that, George. Okay, so remember, an imperative verb tells you what to do. So let's take a look at some of our imperative verbs for today's learning. You know what, Year 3, I bet you were sitting there thinking, Miss Morgan, I still don't know what an imperative verb is. Well, I'm going to show you what an imperative verb is. So, in each of these commands, so you know a command where you have to do something, the imperative verb tells the person what action they need to take. So here, you've got a very stern-looking teacher, and we all know that teachers are very good at being bossy and telling you what to do. Okay, so we've got some sentences here. Eat your lunch, tidy the cloakroom, write today's date, walk home after school. Now, I know that the imperative verbs, the bossy verbs in these sentences, are the action that they are telling you to do. Eat your lunch. Which one is my imperative verb in that sentence? I think it is eat, because that is telling me what to do. And is eat a verb? Yes, because I'm doing something. So in my other sentences, we have tidy, write, and walk. They are our bossy verbs. Just think now quickly, year 3. Why is school not an imperative verb? Well, for one, it's not a verb. School, that's not telling us to do something. School is a place or a thing, okay? And it doesn't sound very bossy, does it? Before we move on any more, year 3, I've just got to tell you that the other day I saw Blake. Hello, Blake. And I saw Blake because we were knocking on some doors, me and Miss Charlesworth, just to say how fabulous you have been doing in your literacy. And Blake told me off. He said, Miss Morgan, you're saying book all wrong. Apparently, because I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, I should be saying book. So Blake, this one's for you. Because we are looking at George's Marvellous Medicine book, I have seen on page 9 that I have some very bossy imperative verbs. Now, what I want you to do is hit pause on this video and to read page 9. And this is all about Georgie's grandma telling George what to do. I wonder if you can spot any imperative verbs on our page. So hit pause on the video now. Okay, let's see if you've spotted some of those imperative verbs. Now, I know imperative verbs are verbs. They are doing words, they are an action, and they are a command. They are very bossy. I can see one straight away, can you? Come, come, closer to me, little boy, she said, beckoning him with a horny finger. Come. Oh, you have come again. Can you see any more imperative verbs? I can see come again. Let me read a little further on. You mustn't be frightened. Okay, she's telling him you must not. Well done if you spotted some of those imperative verbs. Okay, year 3, you finally got one of your whiteboard tasks to do for me now. And I really enjoy seeing your whiteboard tasks as well sent into the year 3 email. So, I have 1, 2, 3 sentences here. However, I haven't got any imperative verbs for these sentences. So let's read them together. Something your sandwich, George. Something your shoes, George. And something your grandma. Okay, so that's George's grandma being ever so bossy. And you have got to come up with some imperative verbs to put in our sentences. Now, I think it's got to be an appropriate imperative verb. What does appropriate mean? Appropriate means that it makes sense. Okay, it fits in my sentence. So would I write, tie your sandwich, George? No. But I could put, tie your shoelaces, George. Okay. So what I have done is I have used my whiteboard and I have written the numbers 1 to 3 and I have made a list of some imperative verbs that I could put in these sentences. So for number 1, something your sandwich, George, I put eat your sandwich, George, or make your sandwich, George. Those are my imperative verbs. Okay, let me see how many you can think of at home. I want a really long list, okay? Number 2, I've put tie your shoes, George, or put on your shoes, George. And for number 3, I have put help your grandma, or come to your grandma. But I want some more exciting ones from you, year 3, okay? So that is your whiteboard task for today, and I look forward to seeing your sentences. So hit pause on the video now, and off you go. Okay, we have one more task to do before we do our purple book task for today, and I think it's quite a nice task for you to do, year 3. So let's make this one a really good one, okay? So, as you can see on the board, I have my Marvellous Medicine instructions, my recipe to make my disgusting Marvellous Medicine, if you remember it from Monday's learning. Now, I'm going to concentrate on the instructions part, and I've used some imperative verbs in my instructions because I'm sure I've got to command and tell people what to do. I've got to be bossy, okay? So, what we are going to do now is we are going to find those imperative verbs in my instructions. Okay, so let's look at number 1 together and see if we can find some imperative verbs. So we've got our time conjunctions from yesterday's learning. So first, tip an enormous amount of bulging, bumpy brains into a large, lumpy pan. Is bulging my imperative verb? No, that's an adjective. What about brains? No, that's a noun. What about tip? Well, yes, I'm doing something, so it must be a verb. Tip, is that an imperative verb? Am I telling somebody what to do in my instructions? Yes, I am. So I am going to highlight my imperative verb there. So what I want you to do at home is you will need your whiteboard and your whiteboard pen. If you have work on one side, then just flip it over onto a clean side. You are going to look at my Marvellous Medicine instructions and see if you can find lots of imperative verbs. So we found the first one together, and I am just going to do a bullet point on my whiteboard, and in my neatest handwriting, I am going to write tip. Now, just before you do it, year 3, hold your horses. Let's see if we can find one in my second instruction. Second, add a soft sprinkle of creepy, crunchy caterpillars. Where's my imperative verb there? Is it soft? No, that's an adjective. What about add? Am I telling you what to do? Add? Yes, I am. That is my bossy imperative verb. Okay, so have a look now. I'm going to leave this on the screen. If you can find all of those imperative verbs and then write them on your whiteboard. Off you go. Okay, year 3, I hope that you have found all of those imperative verbs on your board. If you haven't, make sure you hit pause now because I'm going to reveal where they are. Okay, so well done if you got lots of our imperative verbs here. Now, I don't think they're boring imperative verbs. In fact, I've got add, grab, take, squeeze, crumble, pour, sprinkle, soak. Think about your ingredients in your Marvellous Medicine. If they are crunchy caterpillars, can you crumble them? Okay, if they are slimy slugs, could you squish them? Okay, so well done if you found lots of those imperative verbs. Okay, year 3, I hope you're ready for your purple book task for today. Now, I really like today's task, so I hope that you will write some fantastic sentences for me. But thinking back to my learning question, what have I got to include in my sentences? That's right, I've got to include some imperative verbs. Okay, so there is a 2-step process to writing a sentence with an imperative verb in. So say this with me, year 3. Step 1, write an appropriate imperative verb. Appropriate. I've got to make sure that my verb makes sense. Okay, you wouldn't exactly crumble up some slimy snot, would you? No, but you might pour some slimy snot in. I'm getting my tongue in a twist again. And then step number 2, you've got to use one of your ingredients that you wrote the other day using your alliteration on Monday. So if you remember, we wrote some 2-way sentences using our alliteration, wobbly wet worms and mouldy manky mud. So you've got to use those in your sentence as well. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to model it in my purple book so you know how I want it to look and to help you out a little bit, okay? But before we do that, here are some of my imperative verbs that I'm going to use because these aren't boring. These don't just say, oh, I'm going to put that in there, take that from there. No, these are even bossier. I've got crumble, grab, sprinkle, throw, snap, grate, mix, fry and add. Just like magic, year 3, I'm sitting in my seat again, ready to do my purple book task. So if you haven't got your purple book, make sure you run and get it and hit pause on the video. Okay, but well done if you've got it and you're ready for today's learning task. So I have written Wednesday the 10th of February and my title today is imperative verb sentences. Now don't forget with your title, all of your words should have a capital letter. So hit pause on the video now and write your date and title for me. Okay, so I know that today's task is to write 6 sentences using an imperative verb. But why am I writing these 6 sentences? What am I going to be bossy and tell people to do? I'm going to tell them how they can make my marvellous me medicine. Not marvellous me medicine, my marvellous medicine. Okay, so what you can do is you can look back at Monday's learning and look at your alliteration ingredients. Now I have wobbly, wet worms. And if you're Connie, you have a really funny alliteration of beefy burps, okay? So I'm going to use that one in my first sentence. Now I know I've got to use step 1, an appropriate imperative verb. So it's got to be bossy and I've got to tell somebody what to do. Now with wet worms, I want them to crush them. Now crush is telling somebody what to do and it's very bossy. Okay, so I'm going to write number 1 because it's my first sentence. Okay, so step 1, write an imperative verb. Crush, capital letter. Crush a handful. I'm going to be specific and tell them how many. Crush a handful of wobbly wet worms. Wobbly. In my neatest handwriting as well, year 3. Oh, comma, because I'm writing 2 adjectives. Wobbly wet worms. Okay, wobbly wet worms. I want them to crush them into... What do I want them to crush them into? A big bowl. That's alliteration, isn't it? A big bumpy bowl. Okay, wet worms. Into a big, comma, bumpy, because I have 2 adjectives, bowl. Okay, so I'm not forgetting to use my alliteration as well. So I'm going to read my sentence to make sure I've used an imperative verb and I have used my ingredient in there as well. So crush, yes, a handful of wobbly wet worms. Oh, it's a good job I read it because I missed my R on my worms. Into a big bumpy bowl. That is very bossy. Okay, so just think for your second sentence, what ingredient are you going to use? Look back to Monday's learning. Okay, what ingredient am I going to use? So what is an appropriate imperative verb that I could use? Okay, so for number 2, make sure you miss a line and put number 2. And I will leave some of my fantastic imperative verbs up to help you with your learning. Okay, so remember, I don't want you to give a command, a bossy verb, just saying, put some wet worms into a bowl. That's boring, year 3. I want you to use some imaginative, creative imperative verbs. You may even use some that aren't on my whiteboard. Okay, so I would like 6 sentences for today's learning. If you need to go back to my modelling, make sure you reverse the video and you pause it when I am modelling the work. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing your sentences and to see who has the bossiest sentences for today as well. Okay, I will see you tomorrow for Thursday's learning when hopefully we will be writing some more sentences. Okay, see you then.